Hello, my name is Gabby and welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, then welcome to my channel, and today's video is going to be my spoiler-free review for The Rage of Dragons by Evan Winter. I also do want to just say a quick thank you for all the support on my channel recently. I am incredibly grateful for each and every one of you. Okay, so this was one of the handful of books that I started last year and never finished. I don't know if handful is the right word actually, like what's a handful look like? I don't know. We'll dive more into that later because I do plan to do a books that I want to read in 2022 video soon. And we'll talk about those books more in that video. But for now, The Rage of Dragons is an epic fantasy that is African inspired, and it follows a society of people that has been built around war and war only. There are these rare lucky individuals who are born gifted. The women in this case can call dragons, and the men can turn themselves into stronger, faster, etc. killing machines. This basically leaves everybody else for death fodder, and our main character knows all of this and has a plan for the way that he wants his life to go. However, that all changes when those closest to him are murdered, and now he is fixated on revenge against the individuals who betrayed him as he strives to become the greatest swordsman to ever live. So this was a book that I picked up sometime last year, and I read about the first 100 pages or so, and then I had put it down for a while because it was just taking me a really long time to read it, and I wanted to actually finish a book that month, and by reading this and sticking with this, it didn't look like that was going to happen. So this book originally caught my eye because of the revenge aspect of things. I typically like that kind of story because it leads to the morally gray character type of stuff. And then I had also heard really amazing things about the fight scenes in here. So to begin with the characters, our main character to an extent gave me everything that I wanted from him in the context of why I picked this up in the first place. He's a character that doesn't always make the, I guess, quote-unquote right choices from a moral standpoint, or really any standpoint in some cases, and I enjoyed that about him. And then there are also quite a few morally gray characters in here, and I was really into that and interested in them. The other main character that I wanted to bring up was Zuri. I feel like we don't get to see too much of her, but she was typically a character in here that I really enjoyed seeing, and I feel like a lot of the things that got me really back invested, we'll talk about it, but invested into the story typically came from her. And then also, if you were one of the queens in this book, I was also really into your chapters. Otherwise, this is a really fast-paced story, which in a sense I am very grateful for, and I enjoyed that. But I also feel like it unfortunately created a barrier between me and just really this book as a whole, but especially the characters. Which this is also a character-based story in a sense, so it also kind of went into the story as well, that block. So that fast pacing is ultimately one of the aspects of this book that I did end up enjoying the most, especially for a book that's this long. And also this book is broken up into big chapters, and then that's broken up into smaller chapters, which made this book a really easy read for me, and I was so happy when I saw that originally. The fight scenes in here were also very brutal in a good way, in the way that I signed up for, which content warnings in the description, it gets really graphic. This book also features a lot of really cool ideas that were able to grab me and get me invested into those parts, which is something that I think this book ultimately struggled to do at the end of the day. But it does have its really good moments for me. It also doesn't help that I have a really bad habit of zoning out during fight scenes, which is not this book's fault necessarily, but I did have to keep reminding myself hey, this is what you wanted. Pay attention. And I also had a lot of trouble getting into certain parts of this story that weren't the fight scenes, and there were just some lower points in here for me. And I think that's just because of that disconnect I mentioned before. I don't know, this one's hard. I look back at this book and I go, okay, that was a fun read, but then there's this shadow over it. It's everything felt somewhat two-dimensional, which is weird because I look back and in my head, I don't think it was. I know there's some really complicated and interesting things in here, and I don't know why it feels like that. And I just wish that I could have gotten into those things a little bit more. I also know this gets a lot of Game of Thrones comparisons, which is interesting for me because I have a very similar like shadow over the Game of Thrones books that I read. But also on that note, I would love to see this book get picked up for some sort of live action adaptation in that area. Like just seeing a lot of these plot points and characterizations with like my own eyes instead of just my head, because I do feel like this book has a ton to offer, but I also kind of feel like maybe a book setting is not the way for me in particular to be able to consume this one. But then there were also the parts that did really work for me, which is why I'm so conflicted about my rating for this, and also just really everything about this book, honestly. I would say the highest this book ever got for me was a 4-star, and I think the lowest it ever really got was just a 3. I never disliked this book in a sense, which is why I finished it so easily. Well, that and also that chapter thing that I mentioned, and also just the pacing. I guess we'll meet in the middle, yeah, and go with like a 3.5 star for this one. I'm still thinking about whether or not I want to continue on with this series. I want to because, like I said, there's a lot that I like, and I feel like even though I may not enjoy my entire experience, I know I'll at least like not mind the ride that the series takes me on, and I'll also have some fun while reading it as well. And I also do just want to see where the story goes, and there's a character that I am very curious about that I think we may see more in the sequel. So I don't know. There are definitely like other books and series that I want to haul before this series, but I definitely may check out the rest of this one day for sure. Okay, so that is all I have for this video. Thank you all so much for watching. I will also have a journal with me for this book coming out soon, and also that books that I want to read in 2022 video. So with that, like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell, and answer the question that'll be around here if you want to do that, and hopefully I will see you here next time. Bye!